The Starlance floated in the quiet dark, its silver hull catching faint starlight as it patrolled the edge of known space. For Commander Reth, the patrol was boring, just another routine sweep near the Black Zone, a place the maps had marked, with warning symbols and red lines. No one went there any more. Then the signal came. "Commander," said Lynn, the communications officer, her voice sharp with tension. "We're picking up an emergency beacon." Reth sat up straighter in his chair. "Origin?" Lynn hesitated. From inside the Black Zone, silence fell over the bridge. Everyone had heard the stories. Ships that entered the Black Zone never came back. It was a dead place, cursed, swallowed by something unknown. Could it be a glitch? Reth asked. Lynn's antennae twitched. "Negative. The beacon's recent launched only 30 hours ago. It's old tech pre-galactic standard, but it's still active. Life signs? Faint one, maybe. Weak." Reth turned toward navigation. "Plot a course. Get us close, but keep use outside the gravity well." They'll observe from a safe distance. The crew moved with quiet urgency. Everyone knew this could be something historic or something deadly. As they approached, the source of the signal came into view. A small, spinning pod, scarred by burns and impacts. Its distress light blinked slowly, like the last heartbeat of a dying star. "It's barely holding together," Lynn whispered. Reth stood. "Scan it. What's inside?" Dr. Sella, the ship's medical officer, squinted at her screen. "Life form is humanoid, but the readings don't match any known species. Oxygen breather, strong vitals despite extreme stress." Reth frowned. "Bring it aboard. Isolation bay. Full precautions." The crew obeyed. The pod was pulled in through the secondary dock. Its outer shell hissed and steamed from contact with the ship's cleaner air. Even before they opened it, they could see it had been sealed, manually patched with metal plates and what looked like melted wiring. Someone survived in this? Engineer Ty muttered. The hatch creaked open, releasing a soft puff of cold air. Inside was a figure curled on a metal bed, pale skin bruised and scratched, wrapped in a torn suit too thin for deep space. The figure stirred. A hand moved slowly. Then two dark eyes opened. He blinked once, then twice, and sat up like it was nothing. No. Panic? No gasping. Just calm. He looked at them, an entire bridge crew of aliens from species unknown to him, and said, in quiet, perfect standard, "Thanks for the ride." The crew froze. How do you know our language?" Reth asked carefully. The man gave a small, tired smile. "I've been listening. Your emergency code's simple. Didn't take long." Lynn's mouth hung open. What are you?" He touched a small symbol on the shoulder of his suit, nearly burned off, but still visible, a shape like a curled flame. "Name's Mason Reeve, human." Dr. Sella's heart skipped. She looked to Reth. "Commander, that species is supposed to be extinct." "No," Mason said quietly. "We just stopped talking to the galaxy for a while." He tried to stand, then winced and sat back down. "Little sore. Crashed hard. You came from the planet beneath?" He nodded once. "Yeah, long story. But I'm not the main concern here." Pi frowned. "You're not?" "No, you are. Because if you found me, that means others are listening too. And if they find me first," he looked around, "you'll wish you hadn't come at all." "Who's they?" Reth asked. Mason didn't answer, not yet. Instead, he leaned back against the pod wall, eyes closing. "I need food, a shower, and maybe 10 minutes without alarms. Then I'll tell you why nobody was supposed to come here." The crew stood in stunned silence as the human, this impossible man from an impossible world, drifted into unconsciousness. The Black Zone was no longer empty. And whatever secrets it held had just stepped aboard. Mason Reeve lay on the medical bed, wrapped in a thermal blanket. His breathing was steady now, though his body still showed signs of strained bruises, cracked ribs, mild dehydration. but his heart rate remained strong, steady, and calm. Dr. Sella moved quietly around him, scanning his body again. The readings made no sense. His bones were denser than anyone she had ever seen. His muscles, even after days with no food, still showed strength beyond standard limits. His blood carried oxygen like fire, ran hotter, faster, more efficiently than anything in their database. He shouldn't be alive, she whispered. Commander Rath stood nearby, arms crossed. But he is. The rest of the senior crew gathered. Slowly. Ty from engineering, Lynn from communications, Navigator Sullen, even Security Chief Farak, a towering, four-armed warrior who usually ignored medical briefings, stood silently watching. Sella looked up. His body shouldn't have lasted more than a few hours in that pod. There were microfractures in the hull. He was breathing trace atmosphere at best, but somehow he adapted. He said he came from the planet below, Sullen said. That world is pure death. Crushed every probe the Council sent. Class 0 planet, Varric muttered. Unlivable. And he lived there. He didn't just live, Sella said. He walked away. Just then, Mason groaned softly. His eyes fluttered open, slowly scanning the room. For a moment, no one spoke. Then he smiled. Smells like antiseptic in here. Reth stepped forward. You're awake. Barely. But yeah. We have questions. Mason sat up carefully, wincing as he did. You'll get answers, but first, can I please get some water? Sella handed him a hydration pack. Mason drank deeply, finishing it in seconds. Thanks, he said, wiping his mouth. Didn't think I'd be talking to aliens again this soon. Again? Lynn asked. Mason chuckled. Long story? Reth stared at him. Start it. Mason leaned back, the blanket slipping from his shoulder. Scars were visible now, long, old, healed. With rough tissue, one ran from his collarbone to his ribs. Another wrapped around his bicep like a burn. You want the short version? He said, I was on a mission. Private operation. Mapping old jump lanes past the black zone. We got too close to the surface. Something knocked out our systems. I barely made it to the escape pod before the ship disintegrated. What hit? You? Ty asked. Mason shook his head. Still don't know. But it wasn't just physics. Something down there. Something smart. Alive? Sella asked. Oh yeah, Mason said. Alive and watching? I landed in the middle of a jungle. That wanted to kill me in 10 different ways. Acid rain, air that burns your lungs, insects the size of your hand. Every sound was a warning. Every second was a test. And yet, you survived, Varric said. Barely, Mason answered, not proudly but truthfully. I lost 3 fingers. Grew them back, Sella blanked. What? Human reg and tech. Basic stuff, we adapt quickly, especially when we have to. Reth frowned. That planet is sealed by council order. No ships are allowed within system range. Yeah, Mason said, looking straight at him. Ever wonder why? The room went still. You think the council hid something? Lynn asked. I don't think, Mason said softly. I know, that planet wasn't just some rogue world. It was a prison, something old, something left behind. We weren't the first to crash there. I saw wrecks from a dozen species ships crushed like toys. You escaped it, Ty said. Why didn't you send a message before? I did, Mason said. 3 of them, all jammed. The signal I sent that reached you, that was the 4th try. Sella stepped closer. Why are you telling us all this? You don't know us. Mason's eyes hardened. Because I don't have time to play games. Something followed me out. Something worse than the council ever imagined. What do you mean followed? Reth asked. Mason pointed toward the nearest console. Scan the system. Passive. Sensors only, low band. Look for cold gravity ripples, not energy signatures. Ty stepped over to the console. He adjusted the sensors. His fingers froze. Commander? Ty said, something's moving. Behind the 3rd moon. No heat. No drive trails, but it's there. Mason stood slowly, tossing the blanket aside. You brought me in. Now you're part of it. What is it? Varric asked. I don't know exactly, Mason replied, but it's not friendly. And if we don't act fast, the ship's gonna end up like mine. The lights dimmed for a split second. Everyone stared. That wasn't us, Sella whispered. Mason looked toward the ceiling. They know I'm awake. The lights flickered again, just for a heartbeat. Then they steadied, but the air on the starlands felt heavier, like something was pressing down on the walls, on their skin, even in their minds. Ty stared at his screen, hands frozen. There's no energy spike, nothing in the power grid, but the ship, it's reacting like it's under pressure. Internal systems? Commander Rath asked. All green, Ty replied. No faults, no breaches. Mason stood by the door, calm but alert, eyes scanning the shadows like he expected something to crawl out of them. They don't use energy the way you think. They move through folds, not space. They feed on signal, heat, even memory. What are you talking about? Varric growled. What kind of enemy does that? Mason turned slowly. Something very old. Something the council tried to bury instead of fight. My ship was only the latest to get too close. Lynn's scream beeped, soft and steady. Commander, we've got a new signal. From the pod? Rath asked. No. From behind. The moon. Same place we saw the object. It's broadcasting on a council distress frequency one that was discontinued almost 100 years ago. How is that possible? Sella asked. It's not, Ty whispered. Mason stepped closer. They're copying signals, mimicking voices. Soon they'll try to speak like you. Pretend there's something you can trust. Why? Rath asked. His voice quiet now, to get you to open the door. The bridge crew was silent. Outside, beyond the hull, space looked calm. But something was hiding in that calm. Something that didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't forget. Sella looked at Mason. How did you escape them? I didn't, he answered. I just lasted longer than the others. Lynn's screen flared again. A voice came through crackling, hollow. Help! This is Starwind Explorer. Lost engines. Please assist. That ship disappeared. 52 years ago, Rath said slowly. No survivors. They're using old wreckage, Mason said. Or maybe just the signal itself. Doesn't matter if we answer, if we lock onto it. They'll pull us in, Varric growled, gripping the edge of the weapons console. Then we destroy it. Mason shook his head. No, not yet. Why not? Varric snapped. Because the second you fire, they'll know what you are. They feed off aggression. They turn defense into invitation. We're not just going to sit here, Rath said. No, Mason said, voice low. We're going to outthink them. Ty leaned over. Then what do we do? Mason smiled faintly. You've got something they don't. Options. He moved to the center of the bridge and knelt beside the access panel. With quick fingers, he opened it and stared into the wiring. Your systems are good, safer than ours, but they're predictable. We can use that? He began pulling wires, rerouting circuits. Ty stepped forward. Hey, you can't just... Mason looked up. You want to survive, right? Ty hesitated. Yes. Then let me work. Within minutes, Mason had created a looped feedback. Signal, one that made the Starlands' system appear non-functional drifting, dark, dead. They like weakness, he said. They'll come closer if they think we're broken. That sounds like bait, Lynn said. It is, Mason answered. Rath gave a slow nod. We'll play along. But if they get inside, they won't, Mason said. They're not. Physical, not in the way you think. But they can reach through if they get your signal. If they read your thoughts. That's not possible, Sella said. Mason glanced at her. Then why are you scared right now? Sella froze. He looked Back at the panel, don't think about them. Don't name them. Just follow my lead. The ship dimmed again, this time on purpose. Lights dropped to emergency levels. Main engines dropped to standby. The Starlets now looked like a floating corpse. Minutes passed. The crew watched the screens. Then something moved. Not a ship, not a shape. A distortion, like space itself had bent. Inward, folding like skin under pressure. It's here, Mason said. Don't speak, just wait. The distortion circled once, then again. Then it stopped. The lights stayed low. No alarms. No noise. Then Lynn gasped. A line of text scrolled across her screen, slow and shaking, like a child learning to write. Let. US in, Reth whispered. How is it even on our system? Mason stood slowly, his voice flat. It found us. He turned toward the crew, eyes grim. And now we have to make it leave. Asterisk, no one moved. The words on Lynn's screen still glowed. Softly. Let. US. In. Ty shut down the screen. But a second later, the same message reappeared on the emergency console. Then on the weapons display. Then the navigation board. They couldn't keep it out. Commander Reth stared at the flickering words, trying to stay calm. Can it hurt us like this? Mason stepped forward. Not yet. It's feeling around. Like fingers tapping glass. The moment you open a reply channel or try to speak to it, what happens? Varek asked. You give it a crack to slip through. Then we stay silent, Reth said. No responses, Mason nodded. That's step one. But it won't wait forever. It's trying to test us, see what we are. If we flinch, it gets bolder. What does it want? Lynn whispered. Mason paused. It wants minds, thought, emotion. It wants to copy how you feel. Then twist it. Ty looked pale. It reads emotion? That's how it speaks, not with language, with fear. The ship groaned faintly, like pressure was building in the walls. Sella checked her instruments. The hull's fine, but the crew's heart rates are rising fast. They're leaking fear, Mason said, and it's drinking it in. We can't stop being afraid, Sella replied. We're only people. No, Mason said quietly. You're more than that. You just don't know it yet. Lynn stood suddenly. Commander, I just heard my mother's voice. Everyone looked at her. She's been dead for 10 years. Lynn added, her voice shaking. Reth stepped toward her. Lynn, stay focused. I heard her, she said louder. She said she forgives me. She didn't, Mason said sharply. That wasn't her. Lynn's hands trembled. Her skin changed color, pale and cold. Her antennae twitched with static. She's not okay, Sella said, rushing forward. Mason stepped in. Back away. Let me. He knelt in front of Lynn, meeting her eyes. Listen to me. That voice isn't real. It's inside your head, yes, but it didn't come from you. It came from them. Lynn's breathing quickened. But it sounded like her. I know, Mason said. They copy what hurts. That's how they open the door. But you can shut it. How? She whispered. Say no, Mason said gently. Say it out loud. Say it means nothing. Lynn closed her eyes. Her whole body was shaking. Then she whispered, You're not her. You mean nothing to me. A sharp blast of static burst from the speakers. Every screen went black. Then the lights returned, and the message was gone. Mason smiled slightly. That's step 2. You teach it you're not food. Sella helped Lynn to her seat. How long can we keep resisting? That depends, Mason said, on how badly it wants in, and how much it still thinks you're weak. Varric growled, stepping to the weapons console. Maybe we should remind it we're not. No, Mason said firmly. Not yet. Not until we know where it really is. Reth turned. You said something followed you. Is that what this is? Mason nodded. Yes and no. It's not the same thing. It's one piece, Mason explained, but the others, they're out there. It doesn't move alone. They're like a network, separate yet the same. If you destroy one, the others remember. Ty glanced at the sensors. There's still something behind the moon. Yeah, Mason said. That's the core, Reth frowned. Can we see it? Mason thought for a moment. Try pulse scanning it, but not with standard radar. Use thermal, low frequency, narrow beam. Ty adjusted the scanners, fingers working fast. Then the display lit up. Everyone stared. The object wasn't a ship. It was a sphere, smooth, black, as big as a small moon. It looked dead, unlit, unpowered, but something shifted on its surface. Just a shimmer, like it was watching. What is that? Lynn whispered. Mason looked at it calmly. That's their eye. The image zoomed in. A single red light blinked at the center. It pulsed once and again, and then all their screens changed again. This time, it wasn't a message. It was a picture. It was the Starlance. Burning. Exploding. A silent warning. Sella gasped. Is that a threat? No, Mason said coldly. It's a promise. Reth turned toward him. Then we strike first? Mason nodded. It's time. Mason moved quickly, hands gliding over the ship's controls like he'd used them for years. Ty stood beside him, still unsure if a human had any right touching the Starlance's systems, but after everything they'd seen, no one stopped him. We can't outgun that thing, Commander Reth said. But we can outthink it, right? Exactly, Mason replied. It's not expecting you to fight smart. It thinks you'll panic, freeze, or fire blindly. Most do. Varric crossed his arms. And what do we do instead? We bait it, Mason said. And then we blind it? Ty raised an eyebrow. Blind? It's the size of a moon. Mason smirked. Then we hit it where it sees. He tapped into the targeting array. It's scanning us through hundreds of small sensory nodes, tiny receivers, across its outer shell. That red pulse? That's the master eye. We don't shoot to destroy, we shoot to disrupt. Reth nodded. So we don't go for power, we go for precision. Exactly, Mason said. Focus all energy weapons on that red core. But modulate the beams. I'll set the frequency. It'll overload their data stream like blasting light into a lens. Ty's fingers moved. Coordinates locked. Frequency tuned. Reth gave the order. Fire. The Starlances forward. Cannons lit up, not with thunderous blasts, but with tight, narrow beams of high-frequency light. Not designed to tear metal, but to flood sensors. The red core on the enemy sphere blinked rapidly, then dimmed. Direct hit, Ty confirmed. All. External signals cut, Lynn added. They're not watching anymore, Mason exhaled. Good, but they'll recover fast. What's next? Reth asked. We hit it again, but from the inside. The room fell silent. What? Varric growled. There's a way inside that thing, Mason said. I saw it once during a salvage run. Hidden dock low on the structure near the equator line. If we dock there, I can get in. Reth looked unsure. That's suicide. I've been inside before, Mason said. Briefly. I survived. Ty shook his head. Barely. I learned enough. You go in alone? Reth asked. I'll need one person to fly the shuttle, Mason said. But no one else should come inside. That place changes people. It whispers things. Varric stepped forward. I'll take the shuttle. Mason gave a small nod. Then let's move. Within minutes, the shuttle was ready. A compact craft. Fast and light, launched from the side hangar. Mason sat in the back, strapping in a worn tool pack. No weapons tools. That was all he needed. Varric flew silently. His thick fingers gripped the controls tightly as they neared the dark shape. The docking bay appeared just as Mason had described, hidden in the shadows, barely wider than the shuttle itself, Think it's a trap? Varric asked. Mason smirked. Of course it is. The shuttle slipped inside. For a moment, everything went black. Then dim lights flickered on. The airlock sealed around them. Varric looked back. We're in, Mason stood, pulling on a mask and gloves. Stay here, no matter what you hear, don't follow. Varric grunted. If you die in there, then you leave fast, Mason said. And tell the galaxy what's coming. He opened the inner hatch and stepped inside. The air was cold and stale. The walls weren't metal, not really. They pulsed slightly like skin. Lights blinked slowly along the corridor, red and white like veins under flesh. Mason walked carefully. He remembered the way, left at the first junction, down a sloped hall, past the humming chamber where sound didn't echo. Each step, he felt. Then watching Dot not with eyes, but with thought. He felt memories brush against his own images, voices, pain. Old pain Dot then, the chamber Dot in the center, stood a pillar of light, surrounded by dark, curved walls. It wasn't machinery. It was alive. This was their brain. Mason reached into his bag, pulled out a small device built from parts scavenged long ago. A signal blocker designed not to destroy, but to silence. To block the hive's song, he placed it at the base of the pillar. The lights flickered. Something screamed, but not with sound. Back on the Starlands, Ling gasped. They're broadcasting noise loud, chaotic, but it's fractured. Sella's voice rose. They're confused. Something's wrong. In the shuttle, Varric watched lights inside the dock go from red to flickering blue. Then silence. Mason returned moments later, breathing hard but smiling. It worked, he said. They're deaf now, at least for a while. Then let's go, Varric said, starting launch sequence. But just before they lifted off, a new message appeared on the console. One line. We see you still. Asterisk. The shuttle shuddered as it pulled away from the docking bay. Mason didn't speak. His eyes stayed blocked on the console where the message had appeared. We see you still. Varric kept the thrusters steady. I thought you said we blinded them. I did, Mason said quietly. But they're learning. Fast. Behind them, the dark sphere pulsed once, just a ripple across its surface, like a breath taken in reverse. Then it went still again. Back on the Starlands, Commander Wrath paced the bridge. Do we have them cut off? Lynn shook her head. No, the feedback jam worked, but it's fading. Their systems are rebuilding. They're watching us again, Ty said. Just slower now. Wrath looked to Sella. How's the crew holding up? Better, she said. No new signs of mental interference. Whatever Mason did, it gave us a window. Then we use it. The shuttle returned to the ship, docking smooth and fast. Mason stepped off first, looking tired but calm. The device he left behind had done its job, but not for long. They're adapting, he said. Next time they won't fall for the same trick. What's next? Wrath asked. Mason paused. We leave. Just leave? Varric frowned. Yes, Mason said. We weren't meant to fight them head on. Not yet. Not with this ship. I bought us time. That's all. Now we run and take what we've learned to someone who can act. Can I check the charts? Jump coordinates ready. Closest relay's 2 hours out. That's too far, Lynn warned. If they pursue, they'll reach us before we can jump. Then we make a new plan, Wrath said. Mason nodded. Let me help. He joined Ty at the console and scanned the nav paths. There, he said, pointing at a small system off the main path. We go through that nebula. Cut signal, hides us. Risky, but it's a blind spot. Risky how? Wrath asked. Debris field, gravity spikes, maybe pirates. Ty muttered. I'll take pirates over mind-eating shadows. Varric growled. Same, Mason agreed. Wrath gave the order. Plot the course. Engage at full burn. The Starlands turned sharply and fired its engines. heading straight into the dense, swirling clouds of the nebula ahead. Lights dimmed as the ship entered the fog. Static filled the windows, and stars vanished behind blue-gray gas. Inside the bridge, it went quiet again. Sella sat near Lynn, watching her carefully. "How are you feeling now?" "Better," Lynn said. "But sometimes I still hear the voice. Soft, like it's hiding." "That's normal," Mason said. "It won't go away right away. Just don't listen to it." "Easy for you to say," she muttered. Double quotes. "No," Mason said seriously. "It's not. The ship shook. Contact?" Reth asked. "Negative," Ty said. "Just turbulence from the clouds." "No, it's more," Mason said. He moved to the screen and looked at the readings. "They're coming, faster than before." "But how?" Varric shouted. "You disabled them." "I slowed them." "I didn't kill them," Mason replied. "They've probably built new paths by now. They don't travel like we do. They jump across fear." Reth turned. "Then we can't be afraid." Mason looked at him. "Exactly." The ship bucked again, and suddenly a pulse of black static shot across the viewports. "Visual contact rear," Lynn called out. "They're behind us." The black sphere, or something like it, was moving through the nebula, cutting through clouds like smoke through wind. This one looked different. Not a perfect sphere anymore, but warped, twisted, angry. Ty's hands moved fast. "Charging jump drive 40 seconds. "Make it 20, Reth ordered. The sphere gained on them. Lights flickered again. Walls seemed to breathe. Then Mason leaned close to the comm system. "Open a channel," he said. "To them?" Reth asked. "No," Mason said. "To us." He pressed the button and spoke into the mic. "All hands, this is Mason Reeve. You don't know me. I'm not your officer. I'm not your friend. But right now, I need every single one of you to stop being afraid." The crew across the ship paused. "I know it's hard. I know you've seen things, heard voices, felt fear like it was fire in your brain. But that thing chasing us, it eats fear. That's its weapon. That's its fuel. So starve it." He took a deep breath. "You want to fight back. Then laugh. Smile. Think of someone you love. Picture your home. That's how you fight it. Not with guns, with will." Lynn stared at the console. Then she smiled just a little. Ty chuckled once, just to try it. The ship's engine surged. "Jump drive ready," Ty shouted. "Execute," Reth ordered. The stars bent, twisted, and then the starlets vanished into the jump dot silence followed dot no. Sphere dot no blackness dot just stars, and the sound of breath finally releasing. The jump ended with a soft thud, and the starlets drifted into calm space. Outside, stars shined again, clean and sharp. No more clouds, no black shapes. Just quiet. The crew sat still for a few seconds, letting the silence wrap around them. "We made it," Lynn whispered. Commander Reth nodded slowly. "Status?" Ty scanned the systems. "Engines cooling, shields holding, no damage. We're clear." Celis stood from our station. "Heart rates across the ship are returning to normal. No more mental spikes, no more voices." "Mason?" asked. Lynn touched her headset. "Nothing. Not even static." Varric grunted. "I still don't like it. Too easy." "It wasn't easy," Mason said. "You just made it look that way." They all turned to him. He looked tired. Exhausted, even. But still calm. "That thing," he said, "it wasn't meant to lose. It's been out there for who knows how long, waiting, feeding. The council tried to hide it, seal it away. But that never lasts. Why didn't they warn anyone?" Reth asked. Mason shrugged. "Because fear spreads faster than truth. If people knew what was out there, they'd freeze. They'd fall right into its trap. Better to pretend the black zone didn't exist." "We can't do that," Lynn said. "We know now. We saw it." "Exactly," Mason said. Which means now you have a choice. Ty frowned. What choice? Do you report this and let the council bury it again? Or do you make it known, warn others, teach them how to fight it? Sela looked at Reth. You'd lose your rank, maybe even your ship. Reth didn't answer at first. Then he turned to Mason. What would you do? Mason gave a small smile. I already lost everything once. My crew, my ship, my home. If I can stop others from going through that, I'll take the risk. The bridge fell quiet again. Then Reth stood tall. We report it, full truth. Let the council come. Let them argue. We'll make sure this isn't forgotten. Varric grinned. Finally, a fight that matters. Ty smirked. Guess I'm rewriting my report. Lynn nodded. We all are. Mason sat down, resting at last. Good, that's how it starts. You talk, you remember. You fight not with weapons, but with knowledge. Sela leaned against the console. So what now? You stay with us? Mason smiled faintly. I go home. I've been gone too long. Earth will want to hear about this. You sure they'll believe you? Ty asked. Mason laughed. They're humans. They'll believe it. Then they'll make a plan. Lynn tilted her head. You think humans can fight something like that? Mason looked at her, calm and steady. We come from a planet that tried to kill us every day for thousands of years. We built homes in earthquakes, flew through lightning storms, turned disease into medicine, fire into power. If we can't fight it, no one can. Reth stepped forward and offered his hand. Thank you, Mason. You saved us. Mason shook it. No, you saved yourselves. I just reminded you how. A day later, a small scout vessel dropped out of hyperspace. It was old, scratched, and shaped like a steel arrowhead. The insignia on the side was simple, a flame and a star. Earth's symbol dot as it docked with the starlets. Mason packed a small bag, nothing fancy. Just tools, notes, a copy of the sensor logs. Varg met him at the airlock. You're sure you're leaving? Mason nodded. My people need to know it's time. Time for what? To stop watching the galaxy from a distance and start helping it survive. Varric offered his thick, clawed hand. Mason shook it with a grin. You ever come to Earth, Mason said, I'll buy you a drink. You better, Varric said. The door opened. Mason stepped through. A voice came through the comm as the hatch sealed. Welcome aboard, Mr. Reeve. Ready to head home? Mason smiled. Yeah, set course for Earth, and tell command we've got work to do. The ship turned slowly, aimed for the stars, and vanished into the void dot back on the starlets. Commander Reth watched the empty space where Mason's ship had been. He turned to his crew. Begin the report, he said. Every word, every detail. We're not going to stay quiet anymore. And across the stars and every system that once ignored the black zone, the silence had been broken. Asterisk.